First of all, thank you to Dipin Sir, and I have said it to him personally as well. We have a coffee due in Delhi, so when I come to Delhi, he has planned a coffee with me. So the thing was with Dipin Sir was that he is a cool guy without trying to be cool. So I think it clicked with me, and uh, yeah, I use Dipin Sir's current affairs classes, so I would recommend that. I enrolled in SFG as well, so I think that gave me a bit of practice for prelims as well. I think one of your articles is regarding that, how to do it in first
Yeah.
attempt or
Many congratulations, Ashish.
thank you, sir.
So wonderful to hear from you getting rank 23. And I think this is your first attempt.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Many congratulations.
Thank
So
you,
in
sir.
this session, what we would like is we would want you to share your wisdom, your strategy, and your gyan with the rest of forum students. So first,
Yes.
can you briefly begin by telling about your educational and family background?
So I was born in Patna and completed my schooling here only at Keshav Saraswati Vidya Mandir. After that, I went to IIT BHU Varanasi and graduated in mechanical engineering. I graduated in 2017. I worked at City Corp in Pune for 3 years. And after that, I gave my attempt in 2021 and got the 23rd rank. My family has my father, mother, and an elder sister.
Ashish, so what was the reason that you thought of preparing for civil services for the first time?
There were many factors actually, but the most important was that civil services was one of the uh, most promising uh, sectors in which I could get a good career out of working at the grassroots level, at least in the first few years. So I think this was the primary motivation, and there were other careers also with this type of profile, but in the longer run, I thought that I was more suited to this kind of a service.
Ashish, how did you come to know about Forum IAS?
Actually, my senior Abhinay Vishwakarma got 196th rank in his first attempt in 2018 CSE. So he was
Yes.
a very close, yeah, he was a very close senior of mine in college, and he came to Pune to visit us, and he told us about Forum IAS and Dipin Sir.
So talking of Dipin sir, you were a student of Forum IAS current affairs classes,
Yes,
and I can see that getting a top rank in the first attempt with those that kind of improvement in the mains or that kind of quality content in the mains is a little challenging. So you're able to do
yes,
it. So
yes.
what are the things you were a part of current affairs programs? What are the things that you implemented from the program that help you, reach this level in the first attempt
Yes.
itself?
So first of all, thank you to Dipin sir, and I have said it to him personally as well. We have a coffee due in Delhi, so when I come to Delhi, he has planned a coffee with me. And so the thing was with Dipin sir was that he is a cool guy without trying to be cool. So I think it clicked with me. And uh, apart from that, his content is of a very high quality according to me. And I never felt that I had any lack of faith in him. I totally trusted him with the current affairs content. So I think this kind of trust and confidence in teacher, and he trusted us students as well when we wrote the answers and gave it to him online. So I think this type of trust and a relationship between teacher and student, if it is maintained, I think it helps. So in that regard, Dipin sir helped me a lot.
Coming to your strategy, first is that with respect to when we begin our preparation. So everybody tells us that you must focus on newspaper and current affairs. So did you
Yes.
read newspaper? Did you get the time to read newspaper? And what was your overall strategy with newspaper?
So in some way, I started when I was in job itself in 2020 when I thought that I am going to quit my job. So my job had a 3 month notice period. So I started reading the NCRTs then. And yesterday also some guy was asking me if I started reading newspaper then. I don't remember it exactly. So in total honesty, I don't remember it. But I do remember that I was not reading it line by line daily. So I think I started newspaper reading thoroughly only when I quit my job and started this preparation full time. So first of all, I think my preparation started with reading the NCRTs, ancient medieval geography, economy. These NCRTs I did first a preliminary reading, and after that only I think I started with current affairs.
So did you also do you recommend did you make notes from the newspaper, and B, do you recommend making notes from the newspaper for mains or prelims or anything?
Yeah, so this is an important question. I think with regard to note making, when I was reading the Hindu for prelims, so I made intermittent notes. I did not make it on a daily basis. I did make it intermittently. I used to talk with my friend and I said that even if I don't revise these notes, I think it is going to help me in some way. So for prelims, I think it helped also because in prelims we did not get many questions from current affairs, so it can't be validated to a large extent. But I think personally it gave me a lot of confidence that I was doing this for prelims. But I did it intermittently only. I left it for a month at a time sometimes, and then restarted it. So I can't say that I recommend or don't recommend it. Sorry.
We're coming to the prelims examination. How much time do you think is necessary for giving a dedicated, dedicatedly preparing for prelims, given that these days the paper is a little difficult? And some people think that 2 or 3 months is not enough to exclusively prepare for prelims and still crack it. So what time do you think should be given? Or what time did you give?
I think I started 3 months back. After a while, I got into this mode that if I don't clear prelims, then there's no way I'm going to write mains. So I have to, if I clear prelims, I'll be in the game. So I started, I think, 3 months back. But even prior to that, I would say that when I was reading the newspapers, I was reading it with prelims in mind first and then mains. The editorials were secondary to me at some point of time, and I read it with a primary motive to clear prelims. So prelims was always in my mind, I think, in that way. But I started, I think, 3 months back before prelims.
Ashish, if you were to summarize your prelim strategy in like 5 steps, what would you say? What were the 5 steps to clearing prelims for anyone who's just getting started?
So I used to discuss it with my friends that we are going to follow all the cliches, like all the toppers, what they say. So the primary things remain the same, I think, for everyone, like cover the basics, polity, history, these things you should be well versed with. And after that, I enrolled in SFG as well. So I think that gave me a bit of practice for prelims as well. So write some tests, and I was very uh, marks meant something to me. I was not like marks not mean anything to me. So I was a competitive guy in that sense. And so basics, tests, and you have to guess a lot. So you have to prepare for it, I think. Without guessing, I would not have cleared the exam. This is in all honesty. I think there were some questions that were also pure guesses from me in prelims. I got 109, so I think there was a leeway of 20 marks that I could have gotten away with. But still, guessing is important, so you have to practice it. And there's a lot of rote learning as well. People are not prepared for it. Only after giving prelims, they say that there's a lot of rote learning involved. But I think you should be knowing that there is going to be a lot of rote learning for prelims as well. You have to do it.
You gave 3 months and you were very committed to the exam. You were also part of SFG to some extent.
Yes.
So how did you like this idea of SFG with the kind of competition that comes with it in the online mode and the entrance test and everything? So what are the things that you felt was good, designed in a good manner, according to you?
There were a few guys who always scored, I think, 45, 46 questions correct in all tests. I was very livid with them. But I think they helped. So the most important thing that helped me with SFG was when I was writing the full length tests, the coaching tests. I did not like the idea of reading the answers. Everyone says that if you don't read the answers afterwards, then the tests are of no use. But I think it was a very boring job for me, so I did not go through the answers. But with SFG, what was helping was that there were only 50 questions, and I did not like learning history at all. I liked the subject, but I did not like the learning part. So with SFG in those subjects was like I could read the 40, 50 questions in one go, the answers, and that helped me in revision as well. So I think that was the most primary benefit I gained from SFG. Also, the second benefit was I started getting up early in the morning. It was very frustrating, but I said that for prelims I have to take this. I have to do this sacrifice, and I sacrificed my sleep for it. And I woke up every day at 7. I completed the test, and after that I slept again.
So a lot of students, they come out to us and say that, sir, it's impossible for me to wake up at 7 a.m. That's how they begin. But mostly I've seen that people who manage to do it, somehow they're able to clear the exam, just like in your case. So just to wake up at 7 a.m., you need to be a little prepared and mentally prepared. How did you prepare yourself for it?
So this will answer a lot of questions regarding what was your motivation, how did you keep yourself motivated. So the exam and the service that you are going to get is itself a very big motivation, and it was the most primary motivation for me. I just wanted to do it, and I just wanted to get into the service. So for that, if I had to wake up at 7 a.m., I just decided I'm going to wake up at 7. Even for the CSAT papers, I think I woke up, even though I was good at CSAT, but even for CSAT, I think just because I wanted to get higher in that rank list of SFG. So I think I woke up.
All right. You mean that if you have juniors from college who want to crack prelims, you would recommend SFG for them?
Yes, I would, but I think they'll have to inculcate that discipline. So my friends are also using SFG right now. I think for this prelims they use it, and most of them are clearing it, I think so.
Wonderful. All right. So coming to this strategy in the paper, how did you approach the paper? Did you go by iterations, solving the questions you know at first, and then taking second rounds and third rounds, and bubbling it after every iteration, or did you just do it all the end? What was the strategy in the paper?
So I started with the idea that I'm going to do it in iterations, but my first iteration had some level of guesswork in that itself, because I think I was taking a lot of time in the first iteration. So it was a mix of both strategies. But yeah, it was in 2 or 3 iterations mostly in the paper, and I bubbled it after the first iteration, and then at the end, I did not leave all to the end, and I did not bubble one question at a time. I did it in one bunch, then did it in the next.
So what do you do, Ashish, when you're left with eliminating 2 options and you just have 2 options left? So first, what is the strategy? Did you attempt them? Did you leave them? And secondly is, how do we deal with something like this, which is an increasing problem for most of the students?
So leaving those questions was never an option for me. I think I had to attempt it. If I had 2 options, I'm not going to leave that question. Uh, even with 3 options, I'm not going to leave that question, mostly because I attempted, I think, 93 and 94 questions, 93 or 94 questions. So leaving those questions was not an option. So I think you gain a kind of intuition by solving the test papers to some extent, and I think some sort of residuary knowledge comes into effect. I don't have one single word to or one single sentence to define how I managed to select one option, but I think you just gain something during the test series and all those things by practice.
So with prelims, one last question: which pen did you use to bubble the circles?
Uh, Honestly, sir, I do not remember, but I searched on Amazon and there was some 0.7 mm point pen, and I used that.
Now coming to the mains examination, broadly, what strategy did you have for general studies paper one?
General studies paper one, Rushikesh Reddy notes I followed, geography, history, and I was fortunate that it was on the side of modern history this time around. If it was more on the side of art and culture and ancient medieval, I think I would have suffered, because I did not prepare that portion for mains to the extent that I prepared the modern history part. And apart from that, a lot of residuary knowledge comes in effect when you are writing GS1 paper in terms of history and geography knowledge. So this was my broad strategy. I did not do a lot of effort, and my optional was sociology, and social issues are also covered by Dipin Sir's classes for GS2. So I, with a mixture of these, prepared GS1. I did not get, I think, a lot of marks. I think I got 103 or 105. So these are not the best marks, but I think it was more than sufficient.
And coming to general studies paper two, what broad strategy did you follow for GS paper two? I do understand that this was your first attempt, so you did not have much time for strategy. You probably did minimum and did it multiple times. Still, I would like to know what did you do for paper two?
So I relied on Dipin Sir's notes primarily, especially for IR and for social issues as well, and for quality as well. So, and apart from that, I did go through the static portion. But I think after writing the exam, I talked to my friend and I said that I did not have the best of GS2 paper, but I still got 115. So I think the part that I worked upon helped me, especially with IR and social issues. And my static suffered, but the current affairs helped me get through it.
These days it's difficult to score marks in general studies paper three. So first is what? How did you score in paper three, and what has been your broad strategy for paper three?
So I've heard that 90 plus or 95 plus is good marks in GS3 this time around.
Yes.
I got 97. So and I think there were four questions that I did not know a lot about. WHO question, S400 question, and two other questions. Blue LED, nobody knew, I think. So there were 4 or 5 questions that I did not know much about, but the 20 markers I knew, especially the portion on security. And I think in GS3 these portions are becoming more important. I do not have an overall funda about how to gain more marks, but I think the questions in GS3 you'll have to write better than average answers for those questions. I think you can't write average answers in all questions and get more marks in GS3. I think.
Coming to General Studies paper 4, what were the sources that you referred for paper 4, General Studies paper 4, for the theoretical part and the case studies?
So I referred for GS4. I referred to Rushikesh Reddy Sir's notes, and I found a compendium of examples for ethics on some online source. So I used that. I think I chose 20 examples, 25 examples out of that. But I did not use most of them in the exam because GS4 is a very tricky, was always a tricky paper for me. I could not complete the paper in the final exam as well. In the last 15 minutes, I had 10 markers remaining. So I somehow did them. I wrote one line in one question, half a page in 2 questions. So I completed it that way. I think I lost 10, 15 marks in that paper, but still got 98. And apart from examples and Rushikesh Reddy Sir's notes, I think I gave 2 tests and I think those helped.
So we also had an answer writing focus group subsequent to the SFG. You were also, I think, part of it to some extent.
It was a good program. Mains preparation was for 30 days, I think, at max. In the last 30 days, I think you also in one of your videos said that even if you get 90 days for prelims, for mains, you only prepare for 40-50 days with full focus. So I think that happened with me. I prepared mostly for the last 30 days, 35 days, but it helped, I think, by God's grace somehow.
Ashish, if you were to improvise on your strategy, you already have a brilliant rank. You'll be getting Indian Administrative Service, and if you were to make if you felt that you made some mistakes, sometimes you succeed despite making mistakes. So if you think you made some mistakes and if you had a chance to correct them, what would those mistakes be? And what would you not?
So the most important would be to focus on time management by writing more tests. I wrote very few tests. I think I wrote only 6 or 7 tests for GS in mains, and I suffered terribly. I had time management problems in almost all the papers. I could not complete the GS4 paper, but in also all the papers, including optional, I had time management issues. In my sociology optional, in both paper 1 and paper 2, I could give only 20 minutes for the last 50 marker. So time management would be the one factor. And secondly, I did not do my paper 2 optional before prelims. So I think if someone is able to do that, it would be better. So if I was writing another attempt, I would do it before prelims. And I have gotten good marks in essay, but a lot of people have suffered. So for them, I would say that you'll have to work on essays.
Ashish, what was your broad strategy for essay, given that a lot of philosophical and abstract topics are being asked increasingly? So what is your strategy for the essay?
It is not arrogant when I'm saying that I liked writing essays. So I think it helped me there. I had a reading and writing habit to some extent. So I think essay was the most enjoyable paper for me. So I enjoyed writing essays. So I think that helped with the flow. And the idea of an essay is to give arguments and substantiate your arguments both for and against. So I think in that regard, I was blessed in some sense. Apart from that, I wrote 3 tests for essays, and I used the feedback to improve my essays. I think that I improved in the final paper. I got 152 marks. So I think everything clicked for me in that regard.
Could you briefly say, when you get a philosophical topic, how you approach that essay topic? Because given that you have very high marks in the essay, so could you briefly tell how you would approach a certain topic?
So in philosophical essays, I think the idea is to bring as many dimensions as you can from as diverse areas as possible. So that helps, I think, in philosophical essays with the content, that you are not deprived of the content. For quality improvement in that content, you'll have to substantiate those ideas with examples or with facts or data in philosophical essays as well. Philosophical essays is not only about rhetoric, which I think many people might be failing with, I'm not sure, but rhetoric is not the answer to succeed in philosophical essays. So you'll have to substantiate your arguments with quality examples from diverse areas. So I think that helps in philosophy.
All right. Which, if do you are you can you recall which topics you chose for writing your essay?
Yes, I wrote on the real is rational and the rational is real, and I wrote on history repeats itself first as tragedy, second as a farce.
Actually, so coming to note making, a lot of students who are beginning their preparation, they often have a doubt whether we should make notes or not. So sometimes they make notes from the standard books and they make a bulky notes which are bigger than the standard books also. Sometimes they see toppers' notes and they make their notes. So A, what was your strategy for note making? And second is, what thing you think should be the strategy for note making for freshers?
So I think I spent a lot of time in the beginning making notes, and they were bulky notes. Especially for the ancient medieval part, I wrote the book itself in my notes. But even then, I think it helped because reading your own handwriting is easier than reading a book. So in that regard, it helped. But I would recommend people to make shorter notes. A lot of toppers have already uh, wrote blogs and suggested in their videos about how to make shorter notes. So I think those people should be followed in this regard rather than me. I was a bulky note maker, so I am not the fit person to recommend here. But for sociology, I think in the at the last moment I made some good short notes with only the required thinker name and his main idea. So shorter notes certainly help in the final moment revision.
Great. Ashish, so few things. One is that what pen did you use for writing your mains answers? I ask this to every student, and as silly as it may sound, for some students it's a lifesaver, given that some of us have slow handwritings, and some of us bleed with their hands, especially when you have to write answers every day for like 6 hours. So, what pen did you use, and how did you prepare yourself for such writing, such long stretches of answer writing?
So I've already mentioned that I could not complete all the papers, even though I used Pilot V7 pen, which is considered one of the fastest pens, but still I could not complete the paper. For other aspirants, I have to say that one of my friends used a very simple 5-10 rupees ball pen, and she could complete all the papers before time. So you can choose whatever you want, but I did use Pilot V7. That is the answer.
Coming to one last question, I write articles as Neon on the forum. I'm not sure if you've read it, and I also take some sessions. So, were you able to go through any of my sessions or the articles that I write from Neon? And if you remember anything from it that was useful for you overall?
So there's this pre-preparation phase that I used to discuss with my friend. So in that pre-preparation phase, I went through these articles, I think, and they were motivating in the sense that uh, I remember the fact that I was motivated after reading that it can be done in the first few attempts itself. I think one of your articles is regarding that, how to do it in first attempt or not. I think those things help students 100%.
So, Ashish, you're from Patna, and I'm sure that there must be a lot of excitement in the family, and as well as getting a lot of good wishes and congratulations for everyone. First is that what were you doing when the results came, and what was your first reaction?
I was waiting for 3 days for the results, so I was doing nothing else apart from waiting, and I was quite anxious. Honestly, I did not think that. On one day, I thought that I would be getting a good rank. On the other day, I thought that I would not get selected at all. So it was the worst moment of my preparation phase, the waiting for the final results. So yeah, I was just waiting for the results.
In the end, Ashish, one promotional question that I'll ask. So you were associated with Forum IAS, as I could see, decently well for your mains preparation and your prelims preparation. So would you recommend Forum IAS to your college juniors, friends, and relatives?
Yeah, I use Dipin Sir's current affairs classes, so I would recommend that. And people who are suffering in prelims, SFG is a good program for that as well. I would recommend these two programs because I personally use.
Thank you so much, Ashish. It was wonderful having you. We hope that we see you very soon in Delhi. And many, many congratulations again.
Thank you so much.